Hello and welcome to Yoga with Carolynne. The theme for today's gentle yoga practice is holding space for the end. So this is actually a bonus video this week because the video that came out on Monday was the announcement for the spring offerings that are happening in this community for this season. So if you haven't actually taken a moment to watch that video and you're part of this community, then I would definitely recommend that you take just a few minutes to watch that video at some point so that you can know what's happening here during the springtime. In terms of today's video, this is actually a full-length practice. This is a recording of one of the live stream yoga classes from this past week in the Cocoon yoga series. And as I was teaching this class, I thought, you know what? The community here that watches the YouTube videos would really benefit from this practice because if you've been practicing along during the winter season, you've been following the same themes, the cocoon themes that all of the live stream yoga students have been experiencing as well. So I would love for you to be able to have some time to hold space for the end of whatever your winter season had to offer you. Hold space for the end of that in order to create space for whatever the next chapter of your life might look like. So maybe you're transitioning from winter into spring, or maybe you're transitioning from summer into fall if you happen to be in the southern hemisphere. Whatever transition you might be finding yourself in, I hope that this gentle yoga practice really serves you well to hold space for whatever endings you are experiencing right now. And if you end up really enjoying this practice, this is a direct flavor of what you can expect if you register for any of the live stream yoga classes. Registration is open right now for the Emerge Yoga series, which is the spring yoga schedule. All of those classes start the first week of April, and I would really love to have you there if you're interested. But for now, I hope that you enjoy this special full-length gentle yoga practice. Welcome to Yoga with Carolynne, teaching empaths and sensitive souls just like you how to create a collaborative relationship with your body through cozy, accessible yoga and self-care practices in order to live a life filled with less doing and more being. So today's practice, as I mentioned in the chat, it has become kind of custom in these series. That the last class, really the theme is as simple as let's just hold space for the end of not only this series, but also this season. Maybe you've navigated a lot of things, or maybe you haven't navigated a lot of things, but whatever this season has brought forth for you, today's practice is your opportunity to just hold space for whatever it is that you're receiving and also whatever you're leaving behind from this winter season. So the way in which we are going to explore that theme is there's going to be a very rhythmic sense to today's practice, where we're going to be exploring some movement within each pose, and then incorporating a little bit of stillness and then resting after each of those sequences. So kind of like we're finding a little mini Shavasana after each experience of movement. So I'll ask that you click play on that playlist and you make your way onto your back. That's where we're starting for today's practice. And you let yourself arrive. Today's practice, we find ourselves on International Women's Day. So if you're listening to the playlist this morning or today, all of the artists are female. So I hope that like feminine energy just wraps you up in today's practice. So you've settled onto your mat here. You've taken the first few moments of the practice to adjust, to wiggle, to shift in order for this shape to really and truly feel comfortable, supported, safe, nurturing. And as you do at the beginning of every practice, you take this moment to not only welcome your physical body in, you've settled onto your mat, but also welcoming in your heart and your mind. No matter how they're both feeling, they are both welcome and safe and held. We've explored quite a few different themes revolving around the energy of cocooning this winter season. And we'll kind of touch on many of them during today's practice, but one of those themes was breath. As you settle into your practice, your awareness first just starts by catching on to your breath, noticing its qualities, its sensations, its rhythm, its sound today in this moment as you enter into your practice. And then, as you have been exploring this relationship with your breath over the course of the past 10 weeks, you might have begun to found a breath that feels really supportive, that feels nurturing, that feels good. So, can you invite that breath in here in this last class? I'm going to stay quiet for a few moments so that you can explore your intentional rhythm of breath. So, just because I feel like it's helpful um, for you to kind of know what we're expecting, what we're exploring. So, the first exploration of movement will be moving in and out of bridge pose. So, we'll move through some flows of bridge pose and then we'll find some rest. So we'll start by staying with that breath and allowing a deepening of the breath to begin to invite some movement into the body. Starting maybe just really small with the fingers, the toes, maybe the eyes that move under your eyelids or the jaw. And then the movements can become a little bit bigger, and there's no specific movement required here. Allow this first invitation of movement to be something that feels right, that feels good for you. Really kind of tying into this connection with your intuition that you've explored during this series. This connection with yourself, finding what feels good and nurturing and right. And then eventually, you will make your way into a shape where your legs are bent, soles of the feet are on the floor, and your arms are by your side, palms face down. From here, you've positioned yourself with the soles of the feet are connected to the floor, and please find some alignment in terms of where you position your feet so that your feet are positioned about the same width as your hips, which will create a more stable foundation for your movement. Arms are alongside your body with the palms connected to the floor, and feel all of the points of contact that are touching the floor. So your feet, your hands, back of the arms, the upper back. You'll be using all of those points of contact to help support your bridge pose. Before even we find the flow, engaging the lower abdominals just slightly. The way in which you do that is, can you lengthen into your low back, press your low back into the floor. Notice how that slightly engages your lower abdominals, helping to support the flow. So we'll start with just the hips, not moving into the arms just yet. So on your next inhale, you'll press into all of those points of contact that are touching the floor, except for your hips. Your hips are floating up towards the sky. And then as you exhale, like you're draping a string of pearls that look like your spine, the spine comes down, back down towards the floor, one vertebrae at a time. So that's your first movement, moving in and out of those two shapes. Your bridge pose and then your pose with the hips down towards the floor. Keeping your inner thighs hugging in towards each other, keeping some length into the front of your neck, your throat. All of the parts of the body that are not really part of this pose, so like your face, your jaw, can stay soft. And there's the option to add the arms into this. If you'd like to find a stretch into the arms, and the next time you press your hips up, your fingertips will float up towards the sky and then reach up overhead, really using the point of contact of the shoulders. Exhale as the arms float back up and down as you bring your hips back down. It's just an option. You don't have to take it if you don't want to. It's just another exploration. Keep moving up and down. If you're moving into the arms, the next time you float up, you'll keep the arms down on the floor, and we'll all meet up in bridge pose, which we will hold. And once you make your way up into your bridge pose, really press the hands, the arms, the feet into the floor, and let's take 3 deep breaths together. Inhale, fill the belly. Exhale at the mouth. Inhale. Last one, inhale. Really slowly, so that you can be really present to the end. You'll bring your body back down towards the floor. And once you connect your body back down towards the floor, if movement's like really, really required here, please find that. But if it would feel okay for you to just come into stillness, allow the knees to knock in towards each other, the feet slightly widen. Allow the arms to soften so you can widen the arms, palms of the hands open towards the sky. Eyes are closed if it feels safe to do so, and you just rest. So this experience of holding space for the ends, noticing the echoes of a pose, are something that we explore quite a lot of in the yin yoga practice. But it's most definitely something that we can benefit from when we're exploring more movement-based practices, if not more so, because there's quite a lot of energy and sensations to be felt, to be experienced, to be received after moving your body in a way that's really intentional, really slow, really mindful. Okay, so we're going to be moving through another movement here on your back, moving in and out of a twist, which will hopefully help release that low back after that slight strengthening in bridge pose. So you'll walk the feet back in line with your hips, and this time position of the arms opens wide. So you've done this shape before, supine twist, good old regular, just moving into some movement first before we come into it. So you'll bring the feet up away from the floor, which might mean you lengthen a little bit more into the low back. And you find a 90-degree angle with your legs. So knees are above your hips and ankles are in line with your knees. Flex into the feet. Again, you'll most likely need to use your lower abdominals a little bit here. Press the low back into the floor, keeping your low back nice and safe. Then the movement is a side to side movement, a twist. So you take an inhale in the center. As you exhale, you twist towards the right. The point here is not to bring the knees down towards the floor. It's just a twist and keep those thighs glued towards each other. Inhale back into center. Exhale towards the left. Inhale back into center. And that's your movement. I'm going to let you explore that a few more times, moving with the pace and rhythm of your own breath. Then you'll slow the movement down so that the next time you twist, you'll come into the stillness aspect of this sequence. Knees falling over towards the right or the left, it doesn't really matter. You can most definitely take a moment to scooch the hips over in the opposite direction and position a prop in between the thighs or underneath of your knees. We've done this shape quite a few times in this series, so you're welcome to really let yourself kind of witness the experience of knowing where you like to position your body. It's kind of fun when you can notice, oh yeah, like I know this shape and I know what props help me here. It can be a really empowering feeling. And then you rest for a few breaths. Notice the stillness after the movement. What endings are you holding space for here? What emotions are part of that experience that you're receiving, you're feeling, you're exploring? So before we find our little mini Shavasana, after this twist, you'll experience both sides. So when you're ready in your own time, in your own way, I'll ask that you release out of the twist on this side to eventually make your way into the shape on the other side. Take your time, there's no rush. You're in the shape for about a minute on the other side, so you will find the same time here on this side. So it's these moments in the release and the moments after the release that we're really here for today. So once you complete your next exhale, you will release out of this shape to come back into center. And then I'm going to let you choose what, again, quote, mini Shavasana looks like for you. So it might be that restorative, knees are bent, soles of the feet on the floor, and just knocking the knees in towards each other shape. Or you might want to extend the legs long, like as if you're coming to your more traditional Shavasana shape. Just ensuring that whatever shape you are finding is really comfortable and supportive. When you come into this shape where your state is of more being than doing, you are able to really receive the benefits of an experience and to witness. Okay, so we're gonna begin to move up into a tabletop position here. So I'm gonna let you transition however you would like, taking your time, moving really slow, eventually making your way onto your hands and your knees in your tabletop position. You're more than welcome to take a moment to place a blanket underneath of your knees if you know that that would be supportive for you, for your knees. And then once you make your way into your tabletop position, we're going to be moving through a really slowed down version of cat and cow pose. And I'm going to guide you through a few rounds, kind of showing you how you can find a rhythm of breath within this sequence. Then I'm going to let you explore it, kind of maybe staying with that rhythm of breath that I've guided you through, or maybe you'll find a way in which you'd like to breathe that feels more in line with what you need today. So from your tabletop position, you'll take an inhale to drop the belly down towards the ground. So we know this, we've done this. This is cow pose. But you'll exhale to stay. Notice if that allows your belly to soften a bit more, your jaw to soften. Then you'll take an inhale to stay. And then on your exhale, you'll find the opposite shape. So coming into your cat pose. So again, we know this, but we've done it always in an exhale. What happens when you inhale? Does that press your shoulder blades up a little bit more, kind of increase the sensation? Exhale to stay. And inhale to find the opposite shape. So it's 3 kind of breaths. Inhale. And then as you settle into it, you exhale, let the belly soften. Inhale again. Exhale to find your cat pose. Inhale. Exhale to stay. And that's the rhythm. So moving through those 2 shapes, really slowed down version of it. And keep your eyes closed to really hone into the internal experience of this. And if you've forgotten, when am I supposed to inhale and exhale? Kind of reconnecting with that theme of connecting with yourself that we explored many weeks ago. Well, what would feel good for you? When would it feel good for you to breathe? By just kind of keeping within the parameters of really slowing it down. The next time you move through center, you will pause in center. Our little mini Shavasana will be a supported child's pose. So you'll widen the knees if you'd like to. Send your hips back towards your heels. And supported child pose, meaning you're using whatever props to help raise the floor up in a way that you don't feel like you're having to really use any sort of muscles here in this shape. That might be many props, or it might be no props at all. Allowing your arms to soften, to spread, allow the shoulder blades to spread away from each other. And receive, witness. Let that sequence, that exploration end in order to create space for whatever sequence is coming up next. So we're going to be kind of bouncing off of this child's pose to move through our next sequence, which is a flow from child's pose into downward facing dog. But if for today, downward facing dog is not a pose that you'd like to practice, you can move in and out of a tabletop position, maybe a cat or a cow pose, and then come back into child's pose. If you're coming into your downward facing dog, so you're still in your child's pose, but walk the hands forward, spreading the fingertips wide. Move any props that are underneath of your body. You can keep the block under your forehead, actually, if you want to, if you're using that, because it won't get in the way. I'll guide you through again the first few rounds, and I'll let you explore. So you take an inhale to bring yourself up. And then it's an exhale that curls the toes under, lifts the hips up, and settles the heels back down. And then it's an inhale to lift the heels high, lift the hips high. And an exhale to bring the knees down, uncurl the toes, and let the forehead drop back down. I'll guide you through one more. Inhale as you kind of ripple, flow up. Exhale as you lift up high and settle the heels down. Inhale, lift the heels and hips high. Exhale, the knees come down, uncurl the toes, forehead down. And that's your movement. So moving up and down. If you want to slow it down even more, you're more than welcome to. So maybe you want to take like an extra flow of breath in either one of the poses. The next time you press yourself up into your downward facing dog or your tabletop position, we'll meet there. And as we've been doing, you hold, and we'll take 3 deep breaths together. Take an inhale. Out the mouth, let it go. Inhale. Last one, inhale. Let it go.
Our mini Shavasana here is coming down onto your belly. So you can roll forward to come into a plank. And then either the knees stay up or the knees come down as you bend into the elbows to slow and steady come down towards the floor. And once you make your way there, you can position the arms in whatever place would feel really supportive. Maybe it's stacking hands on top of each other to come underneath of your forehead, or the arms come alongside the body. Maybe if you've got your blocks, we've done this before, you can place your blocks underneath of your shoulders with the arms alongside the body. What would feel supportive, restful, and more like being than doing. Part of the inspiration from the theme of this practice is Bikram yoga is a tradition that is a style of yoga that's practiced in heat, and it's very strengthening. And there's a whole lot of crappy aspects about Bikram yoga. But one of the cool things about Bikram, which is not a yoga style that I practice very often, but the thing that I like about it is that after every single pose, you lie on your back. No matter what it was, if you were like standing and you were doing a strengthening pose, you lie on your back. And I just love that idea of taking time to pause after every single experience. Don't think we do enough of that. Very often, I know that I find myself just moving on to the next thing without taking time to reflect, to integrate, to let go, to receive. So here, you've got time and space for all of that, whatever that looks like for you. So this position lying down on the front line of your body is going to be the shape that we take as our mini Shavasana during our next sequence. We're going to be moving now through some poses that'll help now focus on the back line of your legs. So from here, you're going to press yourself back up into your tabletop position. And then from your tabletop position, there's no like necessary way to transition here. You'll be coming into a low lunge, so stepping the right foot forward. And you can keep your blocks if you do have your blocks on either side of your right foot. They will be helpful for the last kind of holding aspect of this shape, but we're going to be moving into the arms. So you'll bring yourself up and you reach the fingertips up towards the sky. Moving up and down, you'll take an inhale here. As you exhale, you bring the palms and the hands together and you straighten into the right leg. Toes reach up and you bring the hands down into your heart center as you tip down towards the right leg. And then as you inhale, you bend back into the right leg, sweep the hands out towards the side, really wide, and reach up. Maybe the gaze looks up as you come back into your lunge, reaching high. Palms come to touch, and as they connect, that instigates the exhale to bring the palms into heart center, straighten into the right leg, toes point up. I'll guide you through one more. Inhale as you sweep the hands out wide and up to bend back into that right leg. Palms come to touch up overhead. The gaze might look up. As the hands connect, you continue to flow, taking an exhale to bring the hands into heart center, to straighten into the right leg and tip forward. That's your movement. Moving in and out of these two shapes. If it doesn't feel supportive or grounding to bring the movement into the arms, you are more than welcome to keep the hands on your blocks for added support. The next time you bring yourself down into this hamstring stretch, this is where we hold and pause for those 3 releasing breaths. So you can connect the hands onto blocks or onto the floor. And inhale. We're here for the exhale. Let it go with a sigh. Inhale. Maybe there's a slight rise and fall to the body. Last one. And then to release out of this shape. So again, a reminder, you're coming all the way down onto your belly. So lots of movements from that shape in order to get all the way down, but it'll feel nice and good once you come down. So bringing the right knee down, let it be lazy, very sloth-like as you bring yourself all the way down onto the floor in order for your body to receive that sequence, that flow. And this neutral and supported shape also gives you an opportunity to notice the difference between the right and the left side. You might feel different sensations in both of your legs. So you've got time and space to notice, to witness, to feel, to be. What would it look like if in our lives we were able to take a little mini Shavasana after every activity, everything we did? If we took time to hold space for the end of something. There's a real magic that can be found within this very cyclical way of moving and being, echoing the cycles found within the natural world, which we are a part of. We'll get ready to move through that sequence now on the other side. So you'll slide the hands underneath the shoulders to press into the hands and knees to bring yourself back up into your tabletop position. And then you transition from here to come into your low lunge now with the left foot down onto the floor. Sliding your blocks back in if you did use them on the other side. And then when you're ready, you reach the hands up towards the sky. We'll start moving right away. So take an inhale here. Exhale, the palms come to touch as you bring the hands into heart center as you straighten into the left leg. Toes point up towards the sky. Inhale, as you bend back into the left leg, you open the arms up wide, shining the heart forward. Palms come to touch up overhead. The gaze might look up. Exhale as you continue to flow, move, slightly strengthen, slightly find some mobility. The next time you come into that hamstring stretch, you will pause and you will hold. And we will find those 3 deep breaths together. So connecting the hands where they'd like to. And then take an inhale here. Exhale at the mouth. You know where you're going now. Slowly transition out of this shape to come all the way back down towards the floor. So as we come to the ending portion of this practice today, before coming into Shavasana, I thought it could be really impactful to take a moment to come into a seated meditation. So from the shape that you are in, I will ask that you press yourself up slowly in order to come into whatever comfortable shape would be one that you would come into for a meditation. So it might be seated, but it can also be on your back. There's no sort of mandatory required position to find. Traditionally, yoga was practiced in order for the end result to be one where your body was prepared and ready to be able to come into seated meditation. So, in order to kind of stay true to that tradition, that is the way in which we will explore the ending of your yoga practice. But don't worry, we will be coming into a Shavasana because you can't possibly skip that. Once you've found your comfortable shape, and if you're like, I don't typically come into seated meditation, and notice if those are some thoughts that are coming through your mind, and knowing that it's all good. You are here. You are held. You are safe. Position the hands onto the lap or onto the knees. They can be palm face up in a position of receiving, or they can be palm face down if that feels a bit more supportive or grounding. The eyelids drop if it feels safe to do so, or you just bring some really true softness to your gaze, just gazing down onto the floor if that feels a bit more supportive. And really, the practice of meditation, there's many, many different ways to meditate. But within this practice today, I simply ask that you sit and that you witness. That you witness the breath as it moves in and out. That you witness and you feel the emotions that you might be feeling here. And part of the practice of witnessing also involves witnessing the thoughts that flow in and out. I know for myself, it can be helpful to, when I'm holding space for the end, I can kind of forget, well, what are all the things that I did? What did I learn? What did I experience? What did I witness? So as you sit here within your seated meditation, I'm going to simply go down the list of all of the lessons, the practices that we've explored together over the course of the past 10 weeks. Notice what sensations, what images come up as I say these words. Cocoon. Connecting with your inner light. The magic of allowing yourself to dream. Nurturing yourself. Anchoring through change. Breath. Choosing love. Holding space. Restore in order to re-emerge. Holding space for the end. There's a real journey that you have walked on over this past winter season. The path might have been filled with rocky terrain or really kind of muddy terrain. Maybe it felt bumpy, or it felt slow, or it felt uncomfortable, or it felt beautiful. This is your space here to let all of the lessons sink in. The magic, the beauty, the growth to sink in. And it's also your space to leave behind what you no longer need. All of that is part of the experience. It's not one or the other, it is both and. As we've done in all of the sequences, the movements during today's practice,
To end the sequence, we'll take 3 releasing breaths in order for you to then make your way into Shavasana. Inhale into your belly. Open the mouth, let it go. Beautiful. 2 more like that. From here, in your own time, in your own way, you will make your way onto your back if you aren't there already. Finding the quintessential ending pose, corpse pose. You've got like almost 10 whole minutes here for the Shavasana. So please let it be cozy, let it be comfy, supported, inviting in a true sense of being instead of doing. And before you settle into the total stillness and silence that is Shavasana, as has become custom in these practices, you take a moment to acknowledge the land on which you have practiced today. This land, this earth that has supported you during every single practice, this season, this series. And cultivating gratitude in your heart for this land's original caretakers. Thank you. And then there's no more doing, simply being. please allow this releasing out of Shavasana to be like the slowest one you've taken over the course of the past 10 weeks. So you start by simply becoming aware again of the breath and the body, of the ground beneath you, of the four walls that surround you, and of the roof over your head and the sky up above. Your senses open up again. Your senses being part of that connection from you to the outside world. So you notice if there's any sounds around you, any smells, feeling the sensation, touch of the skin and clothes in contact with each other. Maybe the blanket on your body or the yoga mat or the floor beneath you. And then inviting in some movement, starting small. It might just be the eyes or the jaw, the fingers, the toes. Then the movements become bigger. The wrists, the ankles, the legs, the arms, maybe the hips kind of shimmy from side to side. Then your next inhale invites the arms to come up overhead, stretching, finding length, expansion in the entire body. And then you close and turn inwards towards yourself by bringing the knees in towards the chest and hugging the knees in, rocking from side to side to eventually bring yourself onto the right side of your body. Not skipping this part. It is very much on purpose that we come into fetal position after corpse pose. Pretty sure I don't need to explain the symbolism found within that. So feel it, be with it, be here. And then with full care and support, you will then press yourself up into your comfortable seat. Meaning with the hands connected into heart center, palms are touching. The chin can even slightly drop in towards you, coming into this shape, this sign of true respect, of reverence for yourself, for your commitment to this practice, but also to the practice itself. Feeling the support, the lessons, the teachers that came well before any of us stepped onto our mats. Finding gratitude for this practice that we hold so close and dear to our hearts. And then we'll end the practice as we always do with one last breath together. Inhale. At the mouth, let it go. I honor each of you for committing to your practice. And I thank you very, very much for sharing that practice with me. Thank you very much, lovelies. I have really, really enjoyed putting together these practices for you. This is my favorite class to teach because personally, this is how I practice yoga. So I'm really grateful for you just like showing up and being here for all the exploration of the practice that I think is really magical. So I'm really grateful for you. I hope that you have a wonderful last few weeks of your winter season. And hopefully I will see you in the spring classes, the Emerge Yoga series. Goodbye.